Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to True Food Podcast. You know I bring the coolest people to you, okay? That has great stories that helps you to become who God wants you to become. And today I want to introduce you to Kristin. Okay, welcome to True Food Podcast. I know you have an amazing testimony. You have worked with Stop the Movement, which you are the director of. I know you done CrossFit, and I know you have done a lot of things in your life. And I can't wait to hear your story again and for the viewers to hear your story. So, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Okay. My
Hmm.
name is Kristin Taylor.
Nice to meet you.
I am
Yes.
52 years old. I'm a wife of 28 years, actually,
Oh,
28
wow.
years this January.
Hmm.
I'm a mom of three kids, 23, 21, and 13. I have two Australian Shepherd dogs.
That's
And
awesome.
yep, and I have an interesting job. I work from home right now, and I've lived in three different countries.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I've lived in the United States, I've lived in
Hmm.
Australia, and in Canada.
Wow,
So,
that is
yeah, and
amazing.
it all kind of revolves around my
Hmm.
husband and getting together and, this that love story. We
Yeah,
met in
yeah.
college.
Okay.
He lived in another country. I lived here. How were we ever going to make things work? And somehow
Yeah,
through Canada, he got a job there, and then he's here, and we've lived in Australia. Our
yeah.
kids are dual citizens.
That's awesome. That is
So,
amazing.
yeah, so I hope I've given my kids some good experiences.
Yeah, yeah. I hope so too. I
Yeah.
hope my kids experience the same thing.
Yeah.
My wife likes to travel, and so I just recently had a kid, and he's 4 months old now. So I
Mm,
hope one day I get to give them those
yeah.
experiences too.
Yeah.
So
You do need
awesome.
to get them out of their comfort zone,
Yeah.
and take them places. I recently took my 13-year-old daughter on
Hmm.
our street outreach
Oh
for
wow.
the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she had no idea what
Really.
she was going to see, and
Hmm.
I didn't know, what to expect, how she was going to react to all the like really rough things, but
Hmm.
she just dove right in, and
Yeah.
she handed out socks to to homeless
That's
people, and
amazing.
she enjoyed it.
Hmm.
She even like exchanged stickers, stickers
Really.
with this lady that she made friends with who
Hmm.
was at like the homeless shelter.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing because it made her realize that, this is like a real person,
Yeah. Yeah.
someone that you see on the street, or you have these um, like preconceived ideas
Hmm.
about someone who's in this situation.
Yeah.
It might be their fault or whatever, but she just,
Situations happens.
yeah,
Yeah.
they talked, about things they had in common
Yeah.
and exchanged stickers, and they drew together.
So you
So,
showed them to be Christ-like, pretty much.
yes. Yes.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and here we are diving right into like the difficult stuff about
Yeah.
what I do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna
Yeah,
get
the
to it. We're gonna get to it.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I truly, believe one of the most important aspects of parenting,
Yeah.
if I could give you any
Yes, please,
advice,
please. Yes.
is, not worry so much about like what's going to be on their like resume and their
Hmm.
achievements and all these things, but you need to show them through example
Hmm.
how to be
Hmm.
like a loving, caring, good person in this world, and how to love God with all your heart, all your
Yes,
soul,
amen.
and all your strength, and how your behavior is going to show that. It's not just talk, but they're going to see you doing that day in and day out. They're going to
Hmm.
see you. Um, they see me with my coffee in the morning, opening up my Bible, doing my studies and things like that. And they know, don't really bother me yet until I'm
Hmm.
done with my Bible time.
Yeah.
But they see me starting my day like that. And then, as I go on through the day,
Yeah.
it's important for me to have them see that. So just looking at, my youngest daughter is struggling in school a little bit right now, which is hard for me, but I
Hmm.
know that I'm giving like I need to work on that. I
Hmm.
need to work on that, and I'm going to look for some support from other parents, and the
Yeah.
teachers are helping. But I know that at the end of the day, the most important things that she
Hmm.
needs to learn, she is.
Yeah. That is
So
amazing.
yeah,
God will take care of the rest, but
yeah,
as long as you keep teaching her
yeah,
the right values,
yeah,
I think she will be able to
yeah,
cope with life. Grades and all the stuff
yeah.
don't matter as much in the real world, as
Right.
long they have the right mindset to make the connections that they need to,
Yeah.
or put God first in everything, because God is the
Things
ultimate
work out.
to everything. So
Yeah.
grace,
Yeah.
yeah.
Unfortunately, like God can't clean a room for her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Her room is
God will teach her at some point.
yes, I know, and that she hasn't been sanctified into that.
Yeah,
She doesn't understand like the
gotcha.
importance of like it's just creating good habits.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's still
Yeah,
young, right?
she's
So as
13.
yeah, as she grows older, she will. I mean,
Yeah,
when I was 13,
I hope.
I would not be cleaning my room as well.
Yeah,
But
well,
now I love cleaning, so
yeah. I cleaned my
yeah.
room once a week when I was
Mhm.
13. I would let it get really bad,
And
and then
then
on Sunday, like just sort of hole up in my room, and then just
yeah,
eventually clean it. And you get disgusted with yourself.
yeah,
Just
I'm
do
the
it.
same way. I'm the same way.
Yeah, yeah. So I try to show some grace and understanding.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So as a parent, as a wife, what would you say the key to having a successful marriage?
Yes.
Hmm.
So I heard from your other podcast you're on about like 1 year, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
2 years. 2 years
Okay,
now.
good,
Yeah.
good. That must be an old one that I watched.
Yeah.
But that's a good question because things change through the years.
Yeah.
Um, Really important is just understanding that that person will never be perfect
Hmm.
and to give them grace.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if there's something that's going on with them and, like a stressful work situation or something,
Yeah.
they might take it out on you.
Mm.
But you have to, like, for me, if my husband is going through like a really big business deal over the past couple of years, I've learned that, he's not upset with me, but
Hmm.
he's dealing with a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And I just need to, like, whatever happens, just sort of let it roll off
Hmm.
and then understand that, it's not about me. And I
Hmm.
just need to be there to support him. And I can just kind of ignore the little, like, because everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah,
Everybody,
that's true.
things just slip out
Hmm.
and just realize that he's going through something and to, forgive them,
Yeah.
even if it's just in your head. Take a few
Hmm.
deep breaths and then move on
Yeah.
and then just do what you can to support them and ask them how.
Yeah.
And communication is key because we can't read each other's minds. Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
great though?
That would be amazing.
I know that would be a marriage saver if we
Yeah.
could read their mind.
Yeah.
But no. No, so that's like one of the biggest things that I've learned over the past couple of years.
Hmm.
And I think another thing for me too is just you need to be your own person as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
You come together in Christ, but then you also have your own walks,
Hmm.
your own faith, and you need to be your own person too.
Yeah.
Because I see so many parents that just give up themselves for their kids
Hmm.
or for their husbands and all this,
Yeah.
and then maybe their kids leave the house and then they're like,
Yeah. I don't know
well,
what to do.
what do I have?
Yeah.
And then like their marriage might be based on just like what we did with the kids, and then
Hmm.
when the kids are gone they just feel empty.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of things that I'm passionate about. I stay physically fit. I do CrossFit.
Yeah.
A lot of other things too that just keeps me being
Growing.
me.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it helps to, to support each other, in
Yes.
whatever it is that helps you grow to as a
Mhm.
person yourself, but together. Like if
Yeah.
your husband likes CrossFit, I'm not sure if
He
he
used
doesn't have,
to, but
you
he's an
know?
ex-rugby player.
Okay.
He's an
Well,
ex-rugby player, so he's got
he
the
likes,
knees, the
yeah,
shoulders, all the things.
yeah.
So
He likes the athletic side of it.
yeah.
So that's one thing that you guys could do together to build
Mhm.
your relationship and so on. So that's what I
Yeah.
like to do with my wife. My wife knows that I like to watch movies.
Hmm.
So we watch movies together,
Oh,
you
that's
know.
hard. How do you agree on what you want to watch?
She doesn't like movies, but she
Oh,
just agrees to it just because she
okay.
knows
See,
I
that's
like it.
sacrifice for
Yeah.
you. I'm
Yeah.
just going to watch whatever movie he wants. See, that's
Yeah.
sacrifice.
Sometimes she's like, maybe not that one. But at some point she's like, I'm gonna fall asleep
Yeah.
anyway. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
but for her, she likes to hike.
Hmm.
So I make the sacrifice and I go on walks with her and stuff like that.
Mm.
I don't like to go outside at all. I
Oh,
like sports, but if I don't have anything to do outside, I would not go outside. But
yes.
I'm learning to do the things that doesn't make me comfortable, but that makes her
Hmm.
happy, if that makes
Because
sense.
sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah.
Speaking of movies, like in our early marriage,
Mm-hmm.
I used to sit there, and this was in December. We were just joking about this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big James Bond fan, and it was
Okay.
called like the 10 Days of Bond.
Okay.
And it was 10 days of nothing but James Bond movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sit there and I would watch them with him.
Right.
I didn't like them, but then I kind of grew to like them. And then I grew
Mm-hmm.
to know them. And then now
Yeah.
I can kind of quote some
What
of the
they say.
quotes and
Yeah.
I know which movie is which. And just because I gave it a chance and I sat there next to him and we
Yeah.
snuggled and,
That's
so
awesome.
from what could have been a situation that I didn't really want to do, but
Yeah.
I did that for him.
Yeah.
And
It brings you
it paid
closer.
off.
You know,
Yes.
that's awesome.
James
For all
Bond.
those married people out there, are you listening? Are you listening? So, what advice would you give somebody that's getting ready to get married?
Oh, that's that's good. I had a conversation with a young lady the other day. She was about like 19 years old, and she was actually asking if she should move in with her boyfriend.
Mm.
There was sort of like kind of a financial situation where it seemed like a kind of convenient type of
Mm-hmm.
thing to do also.
Yeah.
But I asked her a lot of questions too. And naturally, I always see the worst in
Mm-hmm.
relationships because I deal with human trafficking.
Yeah.
So I just immediately start screening for red flag behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Is he possessive? Is he controlling?
Yeah.
Um, does he do this? Does he do that? But so relate advice for thinking about marrying someone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, you do need to know, does he love the Lord?
Yeah.
Does he follow
Yeah.
the Lord? Because being unevenly yoked is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
difficult. It affects the way that you're going to come across in parenting, how you view the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, like my first piece of advice.
It's amazing advice.
And
So, yeah.
yeah, there's a difference between will he go to church with you
Mm.
or does he love the Lord? Because you kind of see, will he go to church? It's just dragging,
Mm-hmm.
drag along
Yeah.
to church because my wife wants me to go. But there, you want to have the setup where he's the leader and he
Mm-hmm.
loves his wife. Oh gosh, whenever I'm like, I forget the actual verse and what it's from, but
Mm-hmm.
the
You
husbands love
can
your
quote.
wives,
Yeah.
right? Right. And you need to understand, wives need to understand what it means to submit to your husband.
Yeah.
That's such a countercultural thing these days.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, one of my old neighbors left the church when we started doing a sermon series on that.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
because
crazy.
that's like what some of the really dangerous things that feminism
Mm-hmm.
has taught us these days. And to submit to your husband doesn't mean that you're a doormat.
Yeah.
Not at
Yeah.
all. It means he's a man and you're a woman and you let him be a man
Mm-hmm.
and you give him the opportunity to lead and to
Mm-hmm.
be a man. Now, it would be a red flag if he tells you, you have to do this, you have to do that.
Yeah.
But, so that's not what you want, but you need to give him the opportunity to lead.
Mm-hmm.
He has left his mother and his father.
To become one
Um,
with you. Yeah.
that's right. And we're different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more feminine. I treat the kids differently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit more careful with the kids. And
Yeah.
the dads are like, oh, go
Just
ride the
throwing 'em
skateboard
up.
down the
Yeah.
hill. I'm
Yeah.
like, but they need both the kids and
Absolutely.
wives can't say like, I can't believe you let them do that. Now I've
Mm-hmm.
probably done that a few times,
Mm-hmm.
but you just have to understand that he's doing the best that he can with
Mm-hmm.
how he's designed
Yeah.
biologically. You guys have that testosterone, you love the
Yeah.
excitement, and
Yeah.
you think it's great if kids, and actually an actual situation that my husband let the kids swim with
Oh
sharks.
no. Oh no. That
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
scary.
And so it wasn't in deep water, but
Yeah.
we were in San Onofre, like our favorite surf spot in Southern California, Orange County. And there was this hole, like it was maybe like waist deep,
Mm-hmm.
and they were harmless sharks. I mean, I knew that. And they were the small, like little leopardy type sharks or
Yeah.
something. but there were so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he literally let them swim with the sharks. And I was sat on the beach. I'm like, should I be letting this happen? And I was having this like mental breakdown because I thought, well,
Mm-hmm.
all the other moms on the beach are going to be watching me, letting me, knowing that I'm letting my kids swim
Yeah.
with sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, like, Gareth, just don't let them. Like, no, they can't
Yeah.
do this. And he's like, they're fine. They're not going to get bit. These kind of
Mm-hmm.
sharks don't bite. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, okay. I guess you're right. Well, at least like get on the surfboard and don't stick any, like toes or feet
Yeah.
in it. And he's like, no, they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they got a nibble, it's just like a little gummy nibble.
Right. Right.
And he was right. And my kids didn't get hurt. And that actually taught me like a big lesson to just let dads be
Yeah.
dads. And sometimes
Yeah.
I just need to trust his wisdom.
Mm-hmm. I'm the same with my wife too. Is like I always tell my wife like let's just have fun,
Yeah.
But she's like one of us gotta have the serious side, and we can't both
Yeah.
be fun at all times.
Yeah.
One gotta be serious, and one gotta be fun, and that's the way the balance should be.
Yes.
And so yeah.
But you need to take turns doing
Yeah.
that sometimes too.
Okay.
So from being like a mom of a husband that traveled constantly
Mm-hmm.
during my kids' early childhood, you can get it can get tough when
Mm-hmm.
you're the one that has to do all the discipline.
Yeah.
And then the dad, and this could be just like dad comes home from work, even if
Mm-hmm.
they're not traveling. The dad comes home and he's the good time daddy.
Yeah.
I've heard it called like Disney dad. And then it's all fun and games.
Yeah.
And the mom is, left like,
Strict
I'm
one.
always the mean one. This isn't fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but, you have to understand, his situation too,
Mm-hmm.
that he's had stress at work as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to come home and embrace his kids and have fun with them
Yep.
too.
Yep.
So you don't always want him to come home. He's had to be the heavy at work. Now, like I have to be the heavy at work too,
Mm-hmm.
but just biologically, because that's not just for moms are always staying at home.
Yeah.
So many moms work these
Mm-hmm.
days too.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of biologically how we're wired a little bit differently too.
Yeah.
So, but if you can come up with an agreement of like who can be the good cop and bad cop,
Yeah.
switch roles,
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
That's the key.
I like that a lot too. But you
Yeah.
do have to understand, I learned, where he's coming from,
Yeah.
and you don't want to immediately, I learned this too. I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot in my years.
Hey, please. Yeah.
You don't want to immediately start dumping about your day on your husband when he comes home.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, like you've had an awful day at work. Like you did all the kids' lunches, you dealt with the teacher situation, all that stuff. You've been, keeping up with your own things and stress at work or whatever.
Mhm.
And then when you finally get there, but women, we tend to we want to like blah, 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 like release it all out because
Yeah.
that's just how we're biologically designed. But men, they're not. They kind
Yeah.
of like their man cave,
Mhm.
or they just, want to do the fun things.
Yeah.
So we have to like adjust.
Mhm.
I need and kind of meet in the middle. Like I have to learn that, you can't just dump on him.
Yeah.
Maybe you can discuss it with your girlfriends, on the drive home from work
Mhm.
or something, or go throw barbells around.
Mhm.
Make jokes about it with your friends at the gym, things
Yeah.
like that. So then you can save like your best
Yeah.
for when you get home.
Yeah. Or
So
just say how's your day going? How
yeah.
did your day go instead
Well,
of
but
just so
sometimes he doesn't
going.
even want to talk. Sometimes you
Yeah.
had to give them the right to not talk about their day
Yeah.
too,
Okay. Okay.
also, because I might feel that I'm being helpful by giving him a chance to talk it out. Actually, that's not for
Yeah.
him. He doesn't want to do that.
Mhm.
He just wants to, talk about something fun.
Interesting.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and not talk about problems with the kids either. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, and all these things I've learned the hard way. So
That is
yeah.
amazing. That is amazing. Amazing advice. Okay. If you are listening out there, I hope you get something from this. Okay. But we're gonna switch it up a little bit. We're gonna talk about your testimony on God,
Yeah.
because so far everything that you have said, marriages, about kids, is all pretty much God centered.
Yeah.
Right. So
Absolutely.
I would like to hear how you got into that faith, that kind of,
Yeah.
to
Well,
know
first,
Jesus Christ.
well, first of all, I would really say that my faith had
Mhm.
saved my marriage.
Okay.
Because if you really followed all the self-help advice and things that you read or what some therapists or say,
Yeah.
to thine own self be true.
Mm.
There's somebody that I know that I'm not gonna say that.
You don't have to say their name.
Yeah.
You don't have to say their name.
Someone, yeah.
Call her John Doe or he John
Someone
Doe.
someone has a tattoo
Mm-hmm.
that says to thine own self be true, and
Mm.
they're a therapist. And I wanted to walk up to her and say, like, you know what? That is about the worst advice I could ever, like a therapist could
Yeah.
ever give to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're never going to be able to compromise in a marriage
Mm-hmm.
if it's always about me,
Mm.
making me happy. It's not about me.
Yeah. But
It's
about
you
the
know
other
right.
person. Yeah.
It's about serving the Lord and doing God's work.
That's what I
And
meant to say.
yeah, right. So and that kind of leads into my testimony because you have your plans
Yeah.
and what you think your life should look like and what it's going to be. You think you're doing the right thing, and then like poof, something happens
Mm.
that's different.
Yeah.
So for me, um, I grew up in the church, um, going to church,
Okay.
attending church, thinking it's about all about like being a good person, going to church.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, oh, pat on the back, I'm a good person, I'm going to
Yes.
church. And
Yeah.
I'm not like I'm following the 10 commandments. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing all these things. And so I'm like, oh, I don't really like need a personal relationship with God because I'm so good,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or I didn't even understand that. And then fast forward, college happens and life starts happening. And then, you realize you come to the point and you're like, wow, life is kind of hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really going the way I thought it was going to. And I feel kind of empty
Mm.
inside. I can't, stand people are around me or whatever. And when you're selfish and when you have God, I want this. I want you to give me this.
Yeah.
And then if you don't get that, like
You
I
get
wanted
mad.
this
Yeah.
particular stuff in my career and like I should be here, I should be there. If God loved me, then he would, give me this.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't get that. You're like, wow, things are not so good. So anyway, we were in Southern California, had two beautiful young kids. We were starting a new business. We were struggling, it was like paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then all of a sudden, surprise, we have an unplanned pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I was 39 and a half years old.
Wow.
So that's a surprise.
Are you not 39 now? I'm just. It seems like
Yeah.
it to me. Seems like it to
You
me.
know all the right things to say to your guests. No, and we didn't. So, I mean, so pregnant, surprise pregnancy, that's one thing, but we
Yeah.
didn't have maternity health
Yeah.
insurance.
Yeah.
So, do you know how much it costs to have a baby? You
Oh,
do
trust me, I
now.
know.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we couldn't afford that. And what
Mm-hmm.
were we going to do? And, I was, just kind of struggling to make ends meet, working mom with these
Mm-hmm.
kids, feeling stressed with the business. And I just felt like I wasn't going to be able to handle it. What were we going to do? We can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had just started to go to another church, a real church. We
Mm-hmm.
found like a real, Bible believing church.
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized like, well, this is God's plan. It's not my plan. And I need to submit to him because
Mm-hmm.
he has a plan and a future for me. And it might be different than what I thought. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the textbook like, oh, well, I know I'm going to grow up and I'm going to have two kids and they're 2 years apart and we're going to have X amount of money and this amount of business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was quite a shock. And my husband actually had been on a men's retreat the
Mm-hmm.
weekend that I found out that I was
Oh
pregnant.
no.
Yes. And it was going to be quite a awful thing to drop on him, like such a
As
surprise.
soon you walk into the
Yeah.
door.
So you know what I did? I made him a roast. I
Okay.
made him a
Yeah, there
roast
you
that
go.
was going all day long. And then I poured him a glass of wine when he
Yeah.
came in and got him laying down on the couch and
Uh-huh.
like fed him, all the right things that you
I mean,
just do
yeah.
to butter him up. And then I told him the news, and he's like, "Oh, wow, I didn't expect that."
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
But as we and the terrible thing about it is that everybody around us are like
Mhm.
they're saying, "You can't do this.
Mhm.
There's no way that you can afford another baby. You can't
Yeah.
pay for this. You don't have time." And they literally told us that we should just have an abortion.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm.
And the thought of that just made me feel so low
Yeah.
and so terrible and so shameful to think that that could be the solution
Yeah.
to this problem.
Mhm.
But there's a Maverick City Music
I love
song
Maverick
called
City.
God Size Problem.
Mhm.
So we had a God sized problem that only God could fix.
You guy
Right.
can, yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't get the abortion. I kept the
Thank
baby.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So God started fixing our problem. He started
Mhm.
bringing people into our lives, like insurance people that
Mhm.
introduced us to this like special California plan that you could do if you already had a pre-existing condition.
Mhm.
And he brought me to a MOPS group.
Mm.
MOPS, like the moms of preschoolers.
Yeah.
So I had like a really good support network.
Mhm.
And that's when I started, really getting, really learning to love God
Yeah.
instead of loving myself and loving what my perfect idealized world was.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And so from that was, like 14 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah. And just getting into a really good church and truly submitting to God and being humble.
Mhm.
And, then I really started to actually read the Bible and apply it to my life. I got
Mhm.
baptized in the ocean.
Yeah.
And, that's not to say that it's all like rainbows and unicorns all the
Never
time,
gonna be, yeah.
right? No, I mean, we all still struggle. It's like a daily thing every
Mhm.
day to pick up your cross and,
Yeah,
die
follow.
to yourself.
Yeah.
And everybody loves love yourself. You want to live for yourself
Mhm.
and for what makes you happy and pleasure, but you just have to remember, you have to die to yourself, pick up your
Mhm.
cross and serve God with the skills that he's given you.
Yeah. So would you say like it was the unplanned pregnancy
Yeah,
that brought you to the
woke me
Lord?
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that or brought me back if I was
Yeah.
ever really with.
In the back of your mind,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
probably was, but
Yeah. Well, it scares me just how many churches these days are
Mhm.
still like operating under that same model.
Yeah.
I don't want to get like really hypercritical on this podcast, but
Please
recently,
do. I
yeah,
mean, we speak in truth on this podcast. That's why it's called True Fruit Podcast. So
yeah. I mean, I recently attended a church that I
yeah.
literally wanted to walk out
Yeah.
and scream out like, "What are you doing here?"
Mhm.
Walk out and turn away.
Yeah.
And it took like everything, like, okay, this is a learning experience because they were doing communion.
Mhm.
And not once did he talk about like repenting.
Mm.
He made up his own rules,
Yeah.
like be good,
Mhm.
love God, do no harm. It was
Mhm.
those three things.
Mhm.
And he made everybody in the church repeat that. Be good, do no harm, love God.
Mhm.
That's all. And then he made people do communion to that. There
Wow.
was nothing about Jesus, nothing about repenting. It was
Mhm.
crazy. And
Yeah.
so, like, okay, I need to learn and just like sip my
That is
mouth,
crazy.
go and shake the guy's hand at the end. I wanted to say something so badly to the
Mhm.
pastor. I'm like, I'm a visitor.
You should have, because we all trying to go at the same place, right? We all are here for the same mission, is to make disciples of all nation, like Jesus says, right?
Yeah.
And if somebody in the church is not doing what they're supposed to
Yeah.
do, then we supposed to not like in a aggressive way or in a
Yeah.
what do you call it, angry way,
Yeah.
but as a brother sister in Christ, we're supposed to help each other to
Yeah.
realize what we are doing wrong.
Because he could
um,
lead a lot of people astray.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I think probably my stink eye when I shook his hand, maybe told him something I couldn't hold
Yeah,
back. I really did give him
yeah.
like a little stink eye, but
In our heart,
it's not
yeah,
very mature.
yeah.
But
I mean, if we hold it back, in our heart, it's, it will help, it will push us back to be like, church is being a bad light in my life, and so I don't want to go anymore. For me too, right? I stopped going to church because one, I'll be partying on Friday night and then go to church on Sunday and play the drums. Or if
Mhm.
somebody looked at me wrong at church, I'm like, well, this church is not for me because they looking at me and judging the way I dress or the way I look or whatever it
Yeah.
may be. So we have to start looking at churches not as a religion, right, but
Yeah.
as the body of Christ, to know that everybody in the church is sick. Everybody, is
Exactly.
not doing everything right, but
Right.
it's an opportunity for us to help each other,
Hmm.
to grow to what God has intended for us.
Right. Because
Yeah.
we're all sinners.
Yes.
There's some people that are sitting here, there's some people that are sitting
Mm-hmm.
there, but it's all
It's all the
sin,
same. Yeah.
and we all deserve death.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so Jesus died for all of us.
Yeah.
And that can actually kind of lead into talking a little bit about my human trafficking work.
I was just about to
Yeah.
ask you that.
Yeah.
Was that part of it? Why you decided to do
Um,
that?
well, really, I think that's just really embracing the passion that
Mm-hmm.
God put into my heart
Yeah.
for what I saw. Not everybody. I'll just tell you a little bit about
Yes,
how
please. Yes.
how I got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has, and I bet you that like almost everybody in your audience too has some sort of situation where they knew something was off.
Mm-hmm.
They saw some woman or some child, something was off, but they, in their gut, they knew, but they just didn't have the nerves to speak up about it,
Yeah.
or just didn't know, or they were too weak or too afraid to wrongly, that they might have
Accuse
guessed the wrong
somebody.
thing,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
I had a little situation like that. Back when we lived in Virginia, a woman in a Walmart store.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just a fleeting like 5 minutes that
Yeah.
happened, but that's something like that plants that seed. And you're like, wow, I didn't do anything about that.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. So then, fast forward a few years later, I was on a homeless outreach
Mm-hmm.
with now someone that works with Stop the Movement and leads all of our outreaches. And there was a lady that I met that we had picked up in this like nasty hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first of all, your assumption of like, oh, what's this girl? Not, I said lady, but she really was a girl.
Mm-hmm.
She was my daughter's age at the time. She was
Mm-hmm.
19.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Picked her up in a hotel, and I just had like a regular conversation with her. We had a lot of things in common. I just
Mm-hmm.
talked to her like a normal person and, gave her a hug. And then we had to go drop her off back in the bushes
Mm-hmm.
where she was sleeping, which was really sad. And they said she was there with her mother's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, bye, say goodbye. Mhm. And then when I got back in the van, the pastor said, she's being trafficked. She's going to be raped 10 to 15
No.
times tonight. Her mother is in jail
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't have anywhere to go or anybody else to live with except for her mother's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trapped in this situation and we're trying to help her.
Mm-hmm.
And that just hit me so
Mm.
hard.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, what can I do about this? This is terrible. They're just, these women and children and now boys and young men, they're hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. If you know what to look for and
Mm-hmm.
if you open your eyes to see it, you'll see it. And then once I saw it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I really couldn't sleep that night for
Mm-hmm.
like the next week. There I was at home in my soft and comfortable bed with my husband
Mm-hmm.
who treats me well, with, literally not a problem in the world
Mm-hmm.
considering that. And I just realized that, I need to do something about this.
Yeah.
That's, was just such a wake up call. And then I just started volunteering and meeting survivors, seeing the worst of the worst, hearing the most terrible stories,
Mm-hmm.
getting to be friends with them. I did a CrossFit class for human trafficking survivors. It was a workout and like a little Bible devotion
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. And I would spend a lot of time driving them around, picking them up, listening to their stories. And just those stories are just so sad and so awful.
Yeah.
Like one girl, like her mother shot her up with heroin at age
Mm.
14 and started selling her to support her own habit.
Yeah.
And then little by little, then she ends up finding a boyfriend who then traffics her as well.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Another girl in my class, her brother was trafficking her. He was in a street gang.
Mhm.
So there's that. And there's like kids that were exploited online.
Mhm.
Sextortion is growing like crazy. In the past 2 years, sextortion has grown over 300%.
Wow.
So there's a bunch of sickos and online predators out there that are, getting the kids to send them the pictures and,
Yeah.
doing all that. And so when I just learned all the stories and it did start taking its toll on me, I did a strip club ministry
Mhm.
too. That talk about that's hard. I
Yeah.
I was actually interviewing for a board position the
Mhm.
other day, and this is with like the Christian Chamber of Commerce, and I said
Yeah.
when I worked at the strip clubs, I'm like, oops, no, I didn't work at the strip clubs. I did a ministry
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But we were talking about spiritual warfare, which is
Mhm.
another big toll that when you're in the trenches doing this work, you
Mhm.
really, really have to protect yourself
Yeah.
and guard your heart. So, for example, when we would go in the strip clubs, um, you couldn't look around, you couldn't look at anybody in the eyes except for the people that worked there because you're
Yeah.
ministering to them, and you just get
Just focus.
beeline
Yeah.
straight there to the dressing room and go and then go talk to the girls.
Mhm.
But just all this difficult stuff. And then that's when Stop the Movement was presented to me by my friend Sarah LaChance,
Mhm.
who we want to prevent it.
Mhm.
So we always say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Mm.
So after we saw all the devastation, and actually, I really need to work on how I can communicate this better. If you were to add up financially how much it costs to rehabilitate every survivor
Mhm.
and the amount of money that you spend for the ones that you lose that you will never ever be able to
Mhm.
rehabilitate. I lost a girl to the bad guys a few years ago. It was really, really sad after
Mhm.
pour a lot of money into her. I still keep her resume in my computer.
Mhm.
Um, God, it's choking me up. Um, oh God.
No worries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I keep her resume in my computer, and it pops up every once in a while, and I have to see that that's not, failure of
Mhm.
of my own. Things happen, but you can't save all of them, and the amount of money that and resources that it takes, and the drug rehabilitation,
Mhm.
the safe housing, all the wraparound services, job training, sending them back to school, volunteers, that costs a lot of money and a lot of
Mhm.
time. But then what Stop the Movement is doing, it doesn't cost that much to go in and just do prevention in the schools, to
Mhm.
talk to the kids about red flag relationships, what a Romeo pimp might say to them,
Mhm.
what an online predator looks like. And it's not what you think. It's not like the
Yeah.
gross old man like sitting in the basement eating pizza. It can be
Mhm.
women that are doing it to other girls too,
Mhm.
just anything. So I'm really, really happy to be where I am right now at Stop the Movement, to be working on prevention.
Mhm.
I need to keep dipping my foot into the hard stuff
Mhm.
to keep my passion alive. It sometimes I really kind of feel like an outsider
Mm.
a bit about what I do. Like for example, just at the swim meet, I was at a swim meet this past weekend. And like my friend is like, you're not really like the other moms, because I was reading a book
Mhm.
called Take Down Pornhub, the crime scene where like
Yeah.
children are raped and
Uh-huh.
things like that. And I'm like,
Wow.
and it's so hard. It's so hard to read
Yeah.
this and write graphic descriptions of what's going on, but it's out there and it's true,
Mhm.
and somebody needs to do it.
Yeah.
It's not popular what I do, but
It needs to be done.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm willing to do it. God
Mhm.
will equip me to do it. It's kind of a conversation stopper when I tell people, "Oh, what do you do for a living, Kristen?" Well, and I'm like, should I tell them the whole thing?
Yeah.
I fight human trafficking and against human trafficking. And they're like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Good. I'm glad you do that. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then it's
Mhm.
like the awkward silence.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, well, should I start dropping all the stats now or whatever? Because it's
Start
devastating.
overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, it's devastating. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
We drive past it all the time in massage parlors here
Mm.
in Tampa Bay. There's houses that like I could like point them out to you.
Mhm.
There was a girl actually we looked for there's a restaurant very, very close to here, to the
Mhm.
studios, this breakfast buffet where a girl got kidnapped by bad guys. There was a Clearwater young boy who was a recruiter for these traffickers.
Mhm.
They took her to this restaurant, like, boom, just down
Wow.
the street. I'll
Yeah.
tell you later which one it was, but not on camera.
Mhm.
And then they took her off to Brooklyn, New York, and trafficked her for
Mm.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
And she was rescued by a bystander on like 3 days before her 16th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like this is a local girl, local kids.
Mhm.
It's all happening. So
That is so sad.
yeah.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
That is a
So
lot. Now
I know.
my mind is just I have
Yeah.
a lot right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's why I feel so different
yeah.
because I'm so used to talking about this.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's important that people need to hear these things. And then
Mhm.
sometimes I have conversations with people about this and like, oh, and then,
Mhm.
they try to change the topic.
Yeah.
So, but I need to talk to people about pornography,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's
Mhm.
something that everybody needs to start talking about when they hear about pornography is actually the third most common form of human trafficking.
It ruins you. It ruins your
Yeah.
mind.
It
Yeah.
ruins your mind. It creates demand for human trafficking.
Mhm.
It causes addiction. And,
Mhm.
that's what, when people say what you do for work, another thing I can say, like, I go into the schools and I tell kids about pornography. you
Yeah.
and
There you go.
and it's so important. We don't call it that. We have very, very good ways that, we've written our presentation where we talk about like the roots of addiction
Mhm.
and what people are trying to escape when they start watching pornography.
Mhm.
It's not because they're really all into like the lustful things or whatever. Because they may have problems in their lives
Yeah.
and they're just watching this as a coping mechanism or
Mhm.
as a way to de-stress
Yeah.
or because someone has told them that you should. This is what's so scary about kids. Someone has told them like, oh, if you're too embarrassed to talk to your parents about sex, just go learn about it on pornography.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to find,
Mhm. Mhm.
with it's
Nowadays, yeah.
it's like a crime what companies just don't require the age verification.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I personally think that like pornography is just ruining relationships.
Yeah.
It really, do you know the average age of the first time a kid has seen a pornography video? Take a guess.
12.
It's close. Yeah,
Ho ho
11.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
I
the
mean,
average. Yeah,
when I first saw it too, I'm pretty sure I was around that age too, so
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, and kids don't know what to do about it.
Mhm.
They, think they feel shame. They know that
Mhm.
they've seen something wrong. But
Yeah.
that's something that I feel that's really important about. And we talk about when I go talk to the kids at school that, you know, you're just like a consumer to these
Mhm.
companies that are trying to make money off of you.
Yeah.
And they know
Yeah.
exactly what to do and they know exactly how to draw you to these sites,
Mhm.
and then how to get you addicted and get you hooked.
Yeah.
And so, it's not your fault. You just, you have a underdeveloped prefrontal cortex.
Mhm.
Um, and you're visual. Young men are visual, but women are watching it too.
Mhm.
So I just try to like eliminate the shame.
Yeah.
We can't be judgmental about all this, but just tell them how it's going to affect them, and
Yeah.
they just need to say no.
Yeah. I mean, most of
So
us have been through it, you know. I
yeah,
mean, I stopped a couple years ago, to be honest,
yeah,
because it wasn't benefiting me anymore, and
no, No, yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
so
it
yeah,
teaches people just like a transactional
yeah,
relationships.
hmm,
Like what can you do for me?
yeah,
Not like giving and caring to someone.
yeah,
And it's all fake. They're
yeah.
actors, you know?
That is crazy.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But so I'm just really thankful that God has given me the courage
Hmm.
to have these awkward conversations
Yeah.
with people because somebody needs to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll step up and I'll
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
that's how
important.
I hope our viewers learn from this as well.
Yeah.
So I know that we have covered a lot today, and I know
Yeah.
that we are running out of time because John over here back there is waving at me,
Oh,
saying
okay.
that we are over time.
Okay.
But this has been impactful to me, and I hope that it's very impactful for the viewers as well. And if someone want to learn more about Stop the
Oh,
Movement and
sure.
about what you do, where would they find you, and how could they learn more?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're just our website is stopthemovement.org,
Mm-hmm.
org.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have some resources there. And I just kind of urge you to just follow your passion and your curiosity and just put on your your brave frame of mind and read the stories
Yes.
and feel the feels and get your heart broken by it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you get your heart broken by it, God is just going to speak to you and you won't stand by and be a bystander
Yeah.
anymore. So, just research. There's a lot of good social media things. If you follow us on social media, I'm always kind of directing you to other places, other cool sites to learn about pornography,
Mm-hmm.
um, things like that. So
What
just
is your
take the
social
time to
media
do the
for the
work.
people who doesn't know, so that way they can find
Yeah,
that?
it's Stop the Movement. We have
Okay.
Instagram and Facebook. We also have outreach opportunities,
Okay.
street outreach, where you can get hands-on, boots on the ground, going to meet with other women.
Mm-hmm.
We make these blessing bags,
Okay.
and then we just take them like food bags. It's really just like a opening to like, here, would you like this?
Yeah.
And then you can have a conversation with them. So men and women can do it because
Okay.
we're going to minister to the men and the women on the
Mm-hmm.
streets as well and in homeless shelters. So we do have a lot of opportunities to get involved. Can I put in a
Yes.
plug
Yes.
in?
Please. Yes.
So we're having a race
Mm-hmm.
on March 22nd. It's the Stomp Out Human Trafficking 5K. So
Mm-hmm.
you can sign up to run the race. It's a hashtag run for them. It's raising money so we can do our operations. We also need volunteers to help in the race. And it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not a runner, you can still volunteer.
All right.
So, and then you can just spend some time with us and our board, and we can tell you like what's your passion. We need people helping us with like social media, with tech stuff, with
Mm-hmm.
marketing, fundraising. God has brought a lot of really good people to us recently. Um, I've been just submitting our business and our ministry to prayer a lot more
Mm-hmm.
recently. I mean, it's always been in the background, but I'm recently seeing a lot of fruit for really putting in the time and asking for the prayers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's been an amazing, amazing experience. And we're just like so glad to be able to
Amen.
serve people
Yeah.
that way.
That
So,
is awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that all the viewers has been blessed by your words, and I know I
Okay.
have been blessed by your words. I'm so grateful to have known you, and for you to share this wonderful words with us and how we can help and what is going on in this world that we need to fix. And so I hope that everybody learns something. We gotta go. You can't stay here unless you want to keep watching other videos. That's fine too. Go ahead and follow her on all her social medias and send her a message. If you want to learn and grow her page and also grow the Stop the Movement, what she's trying
Yeah.
to do,
The
so
per-
we can fix. Yeah,
the
please.
personal page
Yeah.
is called Be Strong Girl 321,
Okay.
and I do a lot of CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of CrossFit and mixing it with a lot of encouraging words and sort
Mm-hmm.
of deep thoughts and like Bible verses. It's
Okay.
because everything is our ministry and
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a personal ministry that I have as well.
That is awesome.
So,
Well, you
yeah.
heard it. Go follow. All right. All right. God
Okay.
bless everybody. Have a great day.